Present.
Trustee Holtz. Trustee Rogers.
Present.
Trustee Suisse.
Present.
Trustee Casino.
Present.
Trustee Varian.
Present.
And Mayor Yurich.
Present. Do we have any amendments to the agenda? Reports and communications from the mayor and other officers. Tomorrow is an exciting day for those of you who rely on the village website for information. An updated and improved website, homerglen.il.org, will be launched tomorrow afternoon. The site will continue to be a valuable source of transparency, but will now have more pictures and more user-friendly navigation. If you have any questions or comments about the new site, please make sure to call Village Hall. With the trustees, we'll start with Trustee Suisse.
Thank you, Mayor. A reporting for the Environment Committee. A reminder that the winners of the Big Tree Contest will be recognized at the board meeting on August 28th. Notification letters have been mailed out, and a big thank you to the residents that submitted nominations. Mark your calendars for the next stargazing event, which will take place on Friday, September 6th. A presentation by Exotic Creatures will take place in the community room at 7:30, followed by our stargazing event. The Environment Committee is working on a Lands Day community cleanup event for Saturday, September. Last week, we were contacted by Mr. Tudor, a U.S. correspondent for the Radio Free France, or Radio France International. Specifically, he wanted to know about Homer Glen as a dark sky community since 2011. They are interested in learning more about dark sky related programs and events in Homer Glen and the importance of enjoying and preserving the night skies. Our former trustee, Sabo, is our contact, and she will be doing an interview, and I'll have more details at a later point in time on that.
Thank you,
And
Go ahead.
and lastly, the Environment Committee is asking for the consent to have the Environment Committee as a group sign on to a public comment petition regarding the protection of a parcel consisting of 125 acres, which consists of rare dolomite, prairie, meadow, and wetlands located in a nearby village. Within these acres, there's 30 acres of wetlands, and 6 of those acres are globally significant dolomite prairies. There are only 140 acres left in the state of this high-quality soil. And so the Environment Committee wants to do something individually, but they would like to know if the board would approve them signing on as a Homer Glen Environment Committee.
All set?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, I need to know if they, they wanted to know if they can say we would like to help, protect this just as a statement, because this is going to the Illinois EPA.
So they want to come before us?
No, they just want to send out a letter, but they want to sign a Homer Glen Environment Committee with their names on it. So I don't know your thoughts on that, because it has to be,
Wait, you don't need an official, if you want an official action, it would have to be an agenda.
But can we do the consensus?
There's no objection, it's different than actually authorizing something.
I can't hear.
If you're authorizing something and you've done, it needs to be put on an agenda. If it's something that's just, there's no objection, then,
Do a consensus of the board.
Because the deadline's coming up like August 26th or something, right before, I think, their next board meeting. And this was just happening in the last week.
Is the board okay with letting them use our name as
From the Environment Committee.
right from the dark sky?
I would feel uncomfortable with it, solely because I wouldn't like another community to come into our place and say, we recommend this. At least, we should discuss it. It's my opinion.
I agree with Trustee Besnino. If there's no direct effect on our village, this is in Romeoville, correct? I'm absolutely fine with individual members of the Environment Committee weighing in on an issue that is important to them as individuals, using an official committee to weigh in on an issue in a neighboring town that doesn't directly affect our town.
before they just go out, you know, we don't want to go out on the limb, so they
I
asked me to come
agree
to
with what Trustee Furian said in that, you know, I would hope they feel encouraged to go and speak individually. And I would even say that, you know, I would, when I was a member of CED as just a resident, I would probably put my name along with, you know, a committee member on the Village of Homer Glen Community Economic Development as a resident, as an individual member, going out there and weighing my opinion. I think it's when we put it over under the banner of the village and even under the village's committee structure that suddenly, you know, we take on a lot more weight. I don't think it's our purview to be, you know, dabbling in other communities. So, as individuals, even using their, you know, their recognition that they are on the environment committee, I have no objection to it, but not under the
not as a group.
not under the banner of the village or under the banner of the village committee.
Okay. That's all you needed to know.
Okay.
That concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon. Trustee Cosmino?
Thank you, Mayor, reporting for the Parks and Recreation Committee. Second annual Chalk It Up event, which took place Saturday, August 3rd, was a huge success. A combination of great weather, increased attendance, and additional activities resulted in a fun-filled event for Homer Glen residents. Attendance this year almost doubled from last year's inaugural event. 91 participants created beautiful chalk art while bringing parents, siblings, neighbors, and friends for a total estimated crowd of over 300 people at Stonebridge Park. New activities and additions this year included the Art Guild of Homer Glen, Art Tent, Ruby Agave Beanbag Area, Canute's Pizza, wonderful comfort food, and lastly, dogs for sale. All of these items proved to blend in well with last year's chalk art competition, free snow cones, popcorn, face painter, DJ, and Cross of Glory children's games. This perfect combination created a fun environment for all attendees. And excuse me. Although Stonebridge Park was an ideal venue for the first two runs, we envisioned the event next year in Heritage Park, utilizing the active core area. A special thank you to all of the volunteers, village staff, Parks Committee members, namely Mark Barham, Trustee Rogers, Amy Blank, who helped make the event the great success that it was. Thank you, Mayor. This concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Cosmino. Trustee Rogers?
I'm no.
Trustee Furian?
No report, Mayor.
Trustee Holmes?
No report.
Trustee Gray?
No report, Mayor.
Okay. Next is going to be public, oh wait, no, we're going to go to clerk first.
No report.
Okay. Village attorney,
No report.
public safety officials,
No report, Mayor.
village manager.
Not this time.
It's going to be another quick one. Next will be public comments. So the next agenda item is public comment. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes if you can. And the first one up is going to be Sean Nails. Yeah.
Good evening, Mayor. Village Board, this is my first time coming before the board. I appreciate your time. I'm a resident homeowner in Homer Glen on the north side on Choctaw Trail. Currently, there's a special drainage project, Choctaw Trail, between Parker and Chippewa. I went to the Homer Township Road District, which I understand is a separate entity, to try to get some questions, and I hit a wall, and the village said, come to a board meeting. So I said, not a problem, I pay taxes. About 2 weeks ago, the project started, and they dug up the curbs, and they were doing some drainage ditches. And I can appreciate it's going to take some time. But with any project, there's cleanup. Now, the project's supposed to pick back up, from my understanding, the road department said, the week of August 25th. So it stopped on August 5th, so that's about a 3-week delay. That's a residential area. High traffic goes through from Bell and Old Oak, going through Chippewa to Parker. All the cars that come down, all the gravel that's left there, and the dust from the concrete, from all the trenches being dug, that's concrete dust getting picked up and kicked up. I have children, there's about 4 or 5 other residents. We don't have sidewalks, kids hang out in the driveway and play. So I went to speak to Mr. DeVivo, only to find that he didn't call me, so I can't speak, to what he would say. Then I went the following Monday, on August 12th, this past Monday, and I received a phone call. I don't know who the gentleman was. He was in front of my house. I took pictures. I showed him the rocks, the debris. I said, look, I think it's just reasonable as a homeowner that I understand the project's going to pick back up, which the website doesn't say when and how long. But part of, when I went on the website, part of the responsibilities of the road district is maintain the surface shoulders of all roads, remove debris and roads such as gravel and dead animals. So the gravel. The cars come by at 30, 40 miles per hour. They kick up rocks, they kick up all that dust. No one asked, but we understand that it's going to get all over the grass, the house, the cars. That's just part of the project. But for a 3-week delay, you can't just push a broom. The answer I received from multiple people, including the road district and people that were out there, and I saw them with brooms. I said, you can't just sweep it from the center of the road to the curb, so that way the cars aren't kicking it up. I mean, if Mother Nature would have rained, fortunately, within the last 24 hours, got some rain, pushed it down. But that rock's getting kicked up all over. I have pictures. In a short project of a week and a half, everything was marked. They hit everything. When I say they, the road department with the backhoe, they hit a gas line, had to shut the gas down. I'm glad nothing happened like what happened on Parker before in front of Old Oak. They discovered a water line leak. American Water came out. That's a separate entity. They replaced the driveway that they chipped up with asphalt. That was kind of funny. I had to go to the American Water, as we all know there's gold in that water. I should be baptizing people in my pool. They came out and replaced it because if you could imagine replacing concrete driveway in front of a $500,000 house with asphalt. Amazingly, after I called and wrote an email, they came out and fixed it. I guess in short, my only question to the board, because I don't know where to go, is one, I don't know when, if the startup of the week of the 25th, if they're going to start this because it's a residential area, if they have an idea of when this is going to be completed. The school year is starting. My kids walk up and down that street. The reason why they were supposed to do this because the winter there's ice and water. Now we're walking on gravel. Forget about all the dust and debris, but cars kick up those
Excuse
rocks.
me, I just have to do a reminder that it's 3 minutes.
No problem. So I guess in ending, when's it going to be completed? Started and completed, no idea. And if there's new curbs, because now all that damage. But I think it's a reasonable expectation of, it's not that hard to push a broom. I'm sure every one of us has pushed a broom. My 6.5-year-old pushes a broom. And when somebody tells me, I say, hey, can you just sweep the rocks and debris up? The answer that I was given was, we don't have the manpower. No one said, sir, we'll look at it. If it's that way, we'll sweep it up. I would have walked away even if you lied to me. But to tell me we don't have the manpower, I pay, I look, it's supported by the real estate taxes. I pay enough taxes here. So thank you very much.
If you could leave your number with,
It's on the sheet, if it's legible.
oh, okay, you got it above your head. All right, and
Thank you
I'll
for
make
your
a
time.
phone call tomorrow and find out where they're at, and we'll see what we can do.
Thank you.
They are working on it, though. Next would be Karen Johnson.
I don't have to speak. I thought that was just to sign in because we have to sign in. I
Okay.
really don't have to
Not a
speak.
problem. If there's any questions, when we come up to you, we'll ask you. Last is Lisa Swanson. Lisa Swanson?
Yes, I don't need to speak right now either. I thought we had a sign in.
Okay,
Sorry.
not a problem. Public comments is over. We go to the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the village board, and it will be enacted in one motion. Is there a motion to approve the following items? First, the accounts payable for the period of July 26, 2019 through August 15, 2019 in the amount of $278,346.45. Number two, the Village of Homer Glen's June legal bills from Mahoney, Silverman, and Cross LLC in the amount of $9,581.25. And the Village of Homer Glen's Farnsworth bills in the amount of $22,019.54.
So moved.
Trustee Gray,
Second.
second trustee Burrian. Any discussion? Oh, there's no discussion. Could you please call the roll?
Trustee Holtz? Aye. Trustee Rogers? Aye. Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Barron?
Aye.
Trustee Pesamino?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, legislation and action items. First one, is there a motion to approve the appointment of John Hand to serve as a member of the Village's Plan Commission for the term expiring on May 31st, 2021.
So,
G. Holtz,
Second.
trustee Varian, discussion?
Is Mr. Hand here?
Yes.
Yes, he is.
Oh,
If you want to come up to the podium this way, if they have any questions, they can answer them. BJ and myself sat down with him for about an hour and got everything in. He is ex-builder, so I'll let him go ahead.
Well, I've lived here 35 years, and I also live on Choctaw Trail. I understand the issue there, but I won't get into that. It's a coincidence. So I've seen, obviously, a lot of change here. The biggest change was to incorporate. When I saw that there was an opening for the Plan Commission, a couple of things hit my mind. I just wanted to help the village move forward. Obviously, I'm a builder and modeler. I've got a lot of experience in the building end of it, getting permits, variances, the whole 9 yards. So I just think we're at pretty good crossroads in this village, make some big decisions in the next couple of years. Had a very good meeting with BJ and the mayor, so I'm honored to serve.
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions?
What do you like most about the village? You said you've lived here for 35 years. What do you like most about the village?
I just like the diversity out here, the whole building, the open spaces, the location. I'm a contractor. Location, I think, is fantastic for me. I can be in Naperville in 20 minutes. I can be in Burridge in 15 minutes. And finally having, grocery stores, traffic lights, city water. The advantages to living here just keep getting more and more. And I just want to be part of that process to keep moving forward.
What does the village motto mean to you, being in construction business?
As far as the open spaces?
Yeah, community and nature
Oh,
environment.
well, as far as affecting my business, I would think that affects me more of a homeowner here. My business, I've been getting more work in Homer Glen as the homes get older. That's what I do. I remodel and renovate. And seeing the houses turn over as they sell. So as far as, community and nature and harmony, I'm in total harmony with that. But I think the community part of that, I also wanted to be part of this community. I've lived here so long, but haven't been involved in any government kind of thing going on. So looking forward to that.
I have one other question. Do you feel that being your business and being on the Plan Commission, do you feel that would be a conflict? How would you separate the personal and the Plan Commission, personal business, Plan Commission, village business? How do you separate that?
Well, I don't see there being a conflict of interest. I do in the big scheme of things, a small percentage of my work is in this village. I've been getting a few more jobs here and there. I just think I can be very impartial and help nurture the direction of the village with our comprehensive plan. And I know we've been making some updated changes to that.
Mayor, I'd just like to let Mr. Hand know that I appreciate you coming forward, wanting to work in the village, wanting to volunteer your time. The Plan Commission is, besides this board, we have a lot of committees, but the Plan Commission does a lot of hard work. You guys will take some hard votes, you'll take some hard decisions, and I understand there's a lot of interest in that seat, which is good to see, because sometimes some of our committee seats go wanting, for lack of interest. So thank you for stepping up. Thank you all those others who also applied and took the time to try to get involved. And I hope that the rest of the community will see that and start to try and get involved too. We do have a lot of volunteers in this community. There's absolutely no doubt about that. But it's always nice to see more. And like you said, after a long time being here, you continue to want to invest in your community and be part of it, so we appreciate that.
Thank you.
I agree too. Any other questions? Welcome aboard. Thank you. Ready?
Thank you.
This one's going to be called.
Trustee Rogers?
Yes.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Varian? Trustee Pezino?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
And Trustee Holt?
Just don't disappoint.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 19-032, an ordinance approving, one, a variance to reduce the minimum lot width of a corner lot from 130 feet to 105 feet for a certain real property located in the R3 Single Family Residential Zoning District at 13908 South Elm Street, Homer Glen, Illinois, and a variance to reduce the minimum lot size from 20,000 square feet to 19,352 square feet for certain real property located in the R3 Single Family Residential Zoning District at 13920 South Elm Street, Homer Glen, Illinois, 13908 and 13920 South Elm Street, case number HG 1913B.
So
Trustee Varian, Trustee Rogers, discussion.
I see, these two lots had two PIN numbers since 1965, and this is,
Can somebody verify the mic is on?
these two lots had two PIN numbers ever since 1965?
yes, to my knowledge.
Okay, so this is just maybe more or less like a paperwork issue to get them into conforming so you can legally sell those two properties, is that?
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to verify that.
You can go sit down if you'd like. Is there any other discussion? So we need a roll call, please.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Varian?
Aye.
Trustee Pezino?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Holt? Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 19-033, an ordinance approving, one, a variance to permit an above-ground pool as an obstruction in a corner side yard, and a variance to increase maximum height of a fence in a corner side yard from 4 feet to 6 feet, and a variance to allow a solid fence in the corner side yard, table 1B, site and structure of both requirements for residential districts of chapter 220 zoning of the Code of the Village of Homer Glen for certain real property located in the R5 Single Family Residential Zoning District at 12208 South Somerset Road, Homer Glen, Illinois. Case number HG 1914-V.
So.
Trustee Holmes,
I'll second.
Trustee Streets, discussion.
The pool and the fences, or the original pool, everything's being replaced, it's just being placed in the same, according to the map, it's just being built anew, is that correct?
Yes.
So you're not changing.
I'm just
the
replacing.
footprint- You're not changing the footprint of either the fence or the pool?
No.
Just want to verify that, thank you.
Is there any other discussion?
No, I'd just like to add, these are the things that we've seen, since I've been on the board a couple of years, and we keep saying these are the things that we're gonna try to address as we go forward, right, and revising some of our ordinances and things. So, especially when it's like for like, like this is, it may predate the village and its legacy, and we inherited it. But we definitely need to continue to look for a mechanism to help some of these homeowners out who are found in these traps that are not of their making, so.
Correct.
Agreed.
Okay, any other discussion? Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Varian? Trustee Pezino?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Holt? Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 19-034, an ordinance approving a special use permit to permit outdoor seating associated with a permitted restaurant as required in section 220A35 Village of Homer Glen zoning ordinance for Tavern and a Grill property located at 15761 South Bell Road, Homer Glen, Illinois. 15761 South Bell Road, case number HG 1912-S.
So moved.
Trustee Gray,
Second.
trustee Rogers. Discussion?
I was glad to see the additional bollards put in place. I feel much more comfortable with them from where it was at planning to where it is now, and I think it'll be a great asset to the village. And anytime there's outdoor seating, it encourages people.
I agree.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Okay, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Trustee Kazmino?
Aye.
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Holtz? Aye. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
And trustee Barry?
Aye. Motion carries. Is there a motion to approve ordinance number 19-31, ordinance approving certain variances for signage on 15930 West 159th Street, located in the C3 General Business District, CIMA Developers, LP, HG 1902 PS. It is further understood that the village's future gateway sign will be limited to 4 feet high at the southwest corner of the subject property.
So moved.
Trustee Bergen,
Second.
trustee Foltz, discussion.
I'd just like to clarify, this is not the other piece that was on the diocese this evening, right?
It's an addendum.
No,
No, it doesn't include that at all.
it does not. So I provided subsequent information we received this afternoon from the developer, which you have at your dais, but that is not the motion that is before you tonight.
Okay, Madam Clerk.
So, can you elaborate on?
Move on to this one. No.
Oh, trustee Holtz, did you want to say something?
No.
Well, I just want to say something that I think the sign variance, where is the petitioner? Are they here?
No, I don't see it.
Okay. All right, well, I guess it's not important to them. Well, I think all in A through G is 7 to 8 sign variances. Now, maybe I would agree with a couple of them, but I don't agree with having all this signage when the previous petitioner didn't need any sign variances at all, and he was fine with that. So having this as a blanket A through G plus the addendum of change, I think it's way too much. And it's not a variance for hardship by any means, it's a variance in excess. So, you know, if this is going to be a blanket up and down, well, I think it's the wrong thing we do. I think we should allow a couple of these signs, but like having an increase, having our signs switched around, having extra ground signs, having a 65-foot ground sign up to 100-foot. I think in standalone Pride and standalone Amoco logo signs, I don't think that's all that is really necessary. You know, before you know it, you won't be able to see the gas station.
I feel like we've gone back and forth with the developer quite a few times, and there's been some give and take on both sides, so, and that's what, you know, brings developments like this to fruition, is everybody has to give a little and take a little, and I think both sides have done that.
I agree. Is there any other discussion?
I agree with trustee Rogers.
Go ahead.
I guess
Madam
I'm-
Clerk, would you please call?
Sorry, I guess I'm confused. So we have the additional stuff that we were given on dice and this, and I'm seeing,
Yeah, the only thing we're voting on is what I read. It's the only thing that we're voting on.
The information that you have at your dais, trustee Holtz, is information we received this afternoon at 2 o'clock, requesting some additional considerations from the petitioner.
Can you clarify that? Because H5 has all A through G, what they want, plus what you put. Now, what exactly are we, plus the addendum that you put on the dais just now?
Right, so just, the history of this project was, and the last board meeting, which the board tabled this agenda item, we were under the original requested variances that they had requested as part of the planning commission, which was the A through G, that's listed in the staff report that was in your packet and provided to you on Friday. The only thing that has changed from the staff report that you have on the formal agenda today from the last meeting we had was the change from the restriction in height that they wanted to put on the village for our gateway sign at 3 feet. And we had reached agreement at that time to allow 4 feet as a maximum height within that easement. Subsequent to that, they have now shared this afternoon the additional information where if they allow the 4-foot sign for us to install our sign, they want additional consideration for additional variances as well as the location of the proposed both sites have changed, which is what's reflected in the handout that you have today, which I got today at 2 o'clock. So for full transparency, I wanted the entire board to understand that we received this today and what they were asking you to consider. However, we did not change the motion on the formal agenda for you tonight.
Can I ask one question, point of clarification? The piece we're voting on is the original piece that was in our packet, and that was published. And this piece today was not published.
No, it was not.
So we are only voting on what was published and what was published by the Open Meetings Act.
Right, that is correct.
Right, and so I guess that's why I was confused because the supplement sheet said motion for consideration, so I just wanted, like, which one are we voting on? So, thank you, I'm good.
We just wanted to make sure that you had that, the reason we changed we put this on your thing to give you the additional information, but you'll notice that the motion has not changed.
Yeah.
There was an agreement reached, and that is what we're voting on this evening, correct?
A through G plus what was put on our document.
Not plus.
Just
Nothing
A,
additional.
just A through G.
Just A through G,
Yes.
okay.
They want to change that agreement.
Okay, so we're just doing A through G, so we didn't even need to know this.
Well, the board does need to know it though.
Well, yeah, okay.
Those changes came in late, and now if
Right.
they'd like to pursue those additionally, they can bring forth another piece
Well,
to
I
us at
thought-
some future point. But for right now, like Trustee Rogers had said, the piece that we've been kicking back and forth and we've had a lot of negotiation on is the piece we're voting on, which is the piece that we published. And that was what, through many meetings, we've come to kind of an agreement on.
And as for the additional piece of paper that you got on, they sent something at 2 o'clock, and we felt we still had the right to know what that is. But we're not doing that with this.
Right, because I thought tonight was the final vote, and no more of these.
Well, right now it is a final vote because we approved the sign. They can go ahead and start doing their plans. So is there any other questions?
I'd just like to add that I appreciate all the time and effort that staff has put into this, because I know this has been very time consuming over the past several months, and appreciate also the homeowner or the landowner working with the village and facilitating the relationship between the developer and the village and making this come to fruition.
I agree. Okay. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Trustee Gray?
Aye.
Trustee Holtz? Aye. Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
No,
Trustee Varian?
Aye.
And Trustee Castellino?
Aye. Motion carries. Next, is there a motion to approve the proposal from Current Technologies Corporation for information technology managing services for the village of Homer Glen? It is understood that Current Technologies will provide managed IT services to the village for a total cost of $1,122 per month.
So moved.
Trustee Rogers?
Second.
Trustee Gray? Discussion?
This is an item that came to A&F and was presented by John Robbins and the village manager. Basically, it is the same company that is currently supplying the technology support that they have, and the staff and the manager are comfortable with
Trustee Barron?
Aye.
Trustee Prezino?
Aye.
And Trustee Gray.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, is there a motion to purchase holiday decor from Artistic Holiday Designs in the amount of $149,359.25, payable over 3 years, 2019 to 2021, in the annual amount of $49,786.42, and authorize date of the bidding process.
So moved.
Trustee Rogers,
Second.
Varian. Discussion.
I think maybe the best person to speak to it would be Carrie.
Yeah, could you explain what we're about to do here?
Yes, gladly. So tonight we're requesting approval of the holiday decor purchase for the Active Core, which is the first phase of the Heritage Park that will be opening up here in later this summer in September. One of the things that we have been able to do is we were able to reach out to Artistic Holiday Decor Designs, and the owner is actually here tonight to answer your questions that the board members may have, to get some scenarios on what we could do to enhance our holiday experience within the village of Homer Glen. The reason why we did this was obviously for a couple of reasons. One, we're going to be doing ribbon cutting soon for the Active Core, which is exciting for the community, and these decorations would be placed within the Active Core area to provide for the enjoyment of the winter holiday experience, with Sledding Hill being open and with some other Homer for the Holidays event that's going to be occurring here as well. And this adds to that experience as well. It expands our recreational opportunities for our residents and our families. It promotes Homer Glen to our visitors from outside to come and visit our holiday experience and our lights, and to spend their money here in our local community. It encourages, again, winter activity within the Active Core area. It allows our residents to enjoy the holidays in their own hometown without having to go outside the community to experience that. It promotes community pride and our authentic brand, what's unique about Homer. So it's a long-term investment. It's a significant amount of money. It is a policy decision for the village board to make. The terms of this purchase does allow us to either pay it in a lump sum, which is reflected in the staff report, or to pay it in 3 equal payments over 3 years. There is an interest cost associated with that. Based upon our budget and the funds available, we're very fortunate to have the flexibility to pay it in lump sum if the village board so chooses to do it, or we can pay the first year and we can budget the subsequent years in future budgets. I put both of those options in your staff report tonight as well. There are a couple of additional things to note. They're all LED lights, so they have low energy use. They have a very long lifespan, over 10 years, 10 to 20 years. They come with a full 2-year warranty, and we will be doing the installation in-house during the November month with assistance and direction from the vendor, who will have a project manager on site to help us. The order also comes with a full semi-trailer for storage as well after the event's removed. And as I said, the Artistic Holiday Displays is a local community company out of Lamont. The owner's here tonight. If you drive around any of our local communities in our area and you see the holiday lights are either in New Lenox or in Lockport or Lamont or even in Orland, they've all used the same vendor. I personally, in my professional career, have had a lot of experience with them, and I cannot say anything better than them. They have a sole exclusivity to the decorations with a company out of France, the only ones you can provide in the United States. They also do not just Illinois cities, but they do across the entire country, which is reflected in the staff report too. So their customer service is excellent, and the product is excellent as well, which is why I'm recommending them tonight. Again, Derek Norwood is here to answer any questions that you have. The reason it is before you tonight in August, remember why August, right? Is because there's a lead time to order this in order to get it in time so we can install it in November. So yes, we have to plan for Christmas in August. It's just a matter of fact. And so that's why it's before you tonight for the community to consider it. And the last thing I want to say is there are some decisions that I'm going to ask you to make tonight. So there are some decisions on colors that I need some input from the board. So what you have up here on the display are 4 different options we have for the double cone Christmas tree that would be installed in the active core. And so I need direction. I know I've shared this with you guys in individual meetings, but I needed clear direction in which one the preference of the board would be so that we can make sure that we get the right color ordered. So I need that. That's one thing I need from you tonight, some additional direction on that. And then I also need direction in terms of the tree wrapping of the lights in the Heritage Park for the holidays. Do you want to do them in pure white? Do you want to do them in soft gold? I'm looking at Trustee Sweets. Or do you want to do a mix of both pure white and gold, which we can do. So those are the 2 directions I need from you collectively. And again, Derek's available to answer any questions that you have.
Well, we also are looking to see if we want to pay this thing off to save 16 grand.
Right.
So
That's about 8,000. There's a built-in savings on the product. We're already getting a discount of $16,000 on some of the product. So that's already built into the cost. But if you don't want to pay it over 3 years, we can save about $8,000 in interest, or we can do the annual 3-year payment.
So, seeing we can pay it, no sense in giving away $8,454.29, just my opinion.
My opinion is that, while I appreciate the $8,000, we're still in the first half of a fiscal year. And, you know, the $8,000 over 3 years is not a lot. I'd rather give John Sawyers the opportunity to budget for that over the next couple of years, as well as maybe learn how to use these things and how we want to use Active Core and how maybe we want to expand our offerings in those subsequent years. So maybe we, as a budget item, we can add to that as well. That's my only thought about the payment process. Like I said, I get it that there's an extra $8,000, but I don't think it's that much over a long time, and it gives us the opportunity to, like I said, budget for it and still react to any reasons we might need that money going forward for this fiscal year. So,
Just my opinion, that's all.
Mike?
Anyone else?
Yeah. Are you talking with the tree wrapping and fees?
Yeah.
Okay. And then I would like to see, and I think when you explained it to me, we discussed sponsorship opportunities, tie-ins with businesses, and I do think this would go a long way. And I experienced that working in Morton Arboretum with their tree lights display. So I think that's a good thing, and I would like to see us reach out to area businesses and have some sponsorship.
We will definitely do that. We're putting together a sponsorship program right now, not just for this, but for all of our events, but definitely for this.
The plan that they presented on 8/7/19 that shows like what we're actually doing, this is online for the community, did you say?
Yes, it is.
And then so I guess I was wondering, do we need to make a vote first before we get a consensus on the colors, or?
Might be a good idea.
I'm ready to look at Marty.
I mean,
I would like to ask the manufacturer a couple of questions too. Consultant manufacturer, I'm sorry. Business owner. Carrie had mentioned that these things have about a 10-year lifespan, which is great to hear. What if one of them doesn't come on in year 2?
So we are local. We actually have a warehouse in Joliet. So you can bring, while it's under warranty, you can bring it to our warehouse and we will fix it at no charge. Outside of warranty, you can still bring it and there'll be just a labor charge. The lights are actually warranted for the 3rd year, but not the labor. And then after that, general maintenance will happen, but we're local, and so it'll be a very...
So even in year 5, if one points out, you can still...
It's going to happen, and then when we do the service, we put like motive service agreements, but that you guys are doing the installation yourself, you're going to learn, the guys will learn how to change some lights, and then they'll take some inventory and say, hey, send us some lights so you don't have to truck it all the way to Joliet every time that something goes out. So there'll be some maintenance that will have to happen in season, but it's generally low. I mean, we're in our 6th year now in the Chicago market, working with LEDs and Christmas lighting in this market. It's very cold. We don't get a lot of UV. California is very, very tough on us. But the Chicago market, Detroit's, we just don't have a lot of sun, doesn't take a lot of heat, so they're lasting a long time. So how long that's going to be, we're in our 6th year here with this product line, and we're not at refurbishment yet. We think that probably that 10 to 12 years is at refurbishment, but we'll just
And
keep
you'll
it.
have a representative on site this year.
This year, for instruction, yeah. We're gonna start with site visits ahead of the installation and just kind of going over prepping the site and having that ready, and then we'll schedule the installation. We'll probably all go up in one day. They're big, bulky items that get built fast. We'll spec out the equipment that they need on site and so on and so forth. We'll have them prepared.
Does anyone else have any questions?
If you're looking for a color, I like the gold one.
For minute purposes, I guess I'm looking for, how do you guys want to split up the payment if you're going forward with it, and the color? You guys can let me know.
Probably do the payment as part of your motion to approve it, and then I would think color would just be kind of a consensus there after the vote, correct?
I just don't know what's in the price, right? Just wanted it broken out which way they're, because if they don't vote for it because of the payment process, I would have it.
Well, the motion shows payable over 3 years, so I guess if we're okay with paying it over 3 years, then we can pass the motion, but if not, then we would amend it for a 1-year payment.
Okay, so.
I'm fine with the 3 years.
Fine with the motion, with 3 years?
Yeah.
I agree. Okay, so you got your consensus there?
Budget and everybody.
Yep. And then, the consensus on colors?
I like gold.
Gold,
White on the trees.
multicolor on the trees. White and gold on the trees.
Sharon, you
Gold,
want
big
to
trees.
Did you say it was on white gold or
We
white
mixed it
and
up.
gold?
It's right there.
Okay.
Or any of these, what we're looking
These
at?
are the 4 options you have available to you.
4 big trees, pick one of those. And then down on the bottom it says, which preference for tree wrapping? All pure white, all pure gold, or a mix of both?
I think gold has the best presence.
Yeah, the pure gold is nice.
Well, that's not pure gold, isn't that gold and white?
No,
No, it's,
No.
yeah,
pure
there's
gold.
I think also, if the consensus, which it seems like it is to go with the pure gold. Once this I know that this entire packet is online. What I'd like to see is just a separate thing under, maybe if we're going underneath parks, that shows this presentation in its own, because this is some significant dollars, but I think that once the residents and people have an opportunity to really see the magnitude of it, and that hot chocolate cup that has the hot chocolate smell and all that stuff, I think that, they're gonna really appreciate this, and it'll just have people excited.
Sure, we'll do that.
And if you're framing, all the pictures now, that includes everything in this package?
It does.
Well, my personal opinion, I think white lights is so blah. So the more color, I think, the more festive it looks.
So is there, I get the feeling there's a consensus on the gold tree.
Yes.
Okay, gold is shiny.
Solid, pure gold.
Okay. And then the lights mix them?
For the
Softed?
small trees now. You see, if you look through the packet piece, like these smaller trees along the boulevard and stuff, wrap those in just white, or wrap those in gold and white.
When it says a
Or
mix
gold or
of
gold
both,
only.
are you saying white and gold on
Yeah.
each thing, or some
Each
are
tree.
white?
Yeah, some are white, some are gold.
I'm fine with either one.
It's not,
So the consensus is to stay gold.
White and gold.
white and gold on the trees. That will be wrapped in gold for the Christmas tree.
That'll look nice with the ribbon too.
Okay.
Okay.
And I agree that, like Trustee Rogers said, we're not tone deaf to the spending the money, but this is the thing that villages, towns, cities do. This is what gives us civic pride, and this is what, to Manager Brighton's point, keeps people here in Homer Glen. Everybody goes out, Facebook is loaded with, social media is loaded with it, everybody's like, where can I go see the best trees, where can I go see the best decorations? And it will be a source of pride for all of our residents as well as this board, to say, we have a great display. We can now say, hey, we are part of this, we have a presence in this. And I also think this will go really, really far for for the whole season and having people back in the active core and using that, trying to use it year round. You know, we have the mentality in Chicago of being only a 7-month, 8-month season here, you know, where and then we don't go outside. We have that sled hill right behind the active core. So this will be a great area, well lit and everything, for people to hang out while their kids truck up and down that hill and go sledding and stuff. So I think it'll be a really amazing thing.
Any other discussion?
I would just like to roll call for the record.
Okay, Madam Clerk, could you do the roll?
Trustee Holtz?
Aye.
Trustee Rogers?
Aye.
Trustee Suisse?
Aye.
Trustee Varian?
Aye.
Trustee Kazmino?
Aye.
And Trustee Gray.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is a workshop item. Economic Development Director Janie Patch will discuss community renting strategies.
Mr. Mayor, may I make a few initial comments if you don't mind?
Sure.
So, the reason why we're having this workshop tonight is this similar presentation was done before the CED committee a couple months ago, and the committee members of that committee thought it would be really good information to share with the collective board as well. And this is an exciting time for Homer Glen because we're embarking on so many new initiatives, you know, including the installation, the completion of the active core, the update of our comp plan, long-term planning for the future of the community, and setting the stage for the next decade or so as we march forward within Homer. And part of that is what is our story? What is our authentic brand? And so we wanted to bring a group of professionals, and my personal professional opinion, the presenters tonight are the best of the best. I've worked with them in my career and other projects, and they have volunteered graciously to come here and present this presentation. They did it for the CED and also to the full village board as well. So before we introduce our presenters, I'm going to hand it off to Janie, and she's just going to give you a short overview of some visual imaging of our branding and our logo that we currently have in Homer, and what we've used in the past as kind of to set the stage. And then we'll hand it off to Carl and his fellow colleagues to do one short additional presentation. And please ask any questions as we go, okay?
To preface with some visual images and branding that you are very familiar with, but just help bring it to top of mind, because we do have a little bit of maybe inconsistency in some of how we have presented ourselves. And then again, on the other side, we have some very consistent sort of messaging that we have done with the way we presented ourselves. This is our village seal, and it includes our community tagline, Community of Nature and Harmony. This is our logo, which really has become, in essence, our brand. It's been kind of the umbrella. You see it repetitively used in different iterations. Just speaking to shoppers, we've used this Shop and Dine Homer Glen logo with the shopping bag, and you'll see pieces of that brand have kind of filtered into here, but it's not necessarily a consistent presentation in terms of a set of standard ways of using a brand. And then this is probably the greatest departure from the actual identity of the brand, the way we've presented ourselves, which is when we're speaking to businesses in the past and up to right now, we are using Homer Glen Business Connect. So if we want to really umbrella brand ourselves, go through a community branding exercise, we might want to bring this back up underneath the umbrella. The board did, through the CED committee, made some recommendations for a village gateway and wayfinding signage project. We created a placeholder in the current budget, and again, there's our logo brand and how it has been reflected in current signage. And if you get into the details of looking at some of these signs, you'll see, again, some inconsistencies in the way the branding or the identity has been presented, but it all has elements of the basic logo. And then this was just, the board had seen this during budget time, the bullet point recommendations that came out of the Community and Economic Development Committee for how to go about working with a cohesive, consistently designed gateway and wayfinding system of signage for the village. And it included, you know, working with the same brand, not really changing that, but looking for an updated sign design that was a high quality appearance and that would be made of materials that would endure. In addition to other recommendations, there was the idea of providing prospective designers of any signage for us with a list of materials approved for the Heritage Park at the core. So this next slide just shows you some elements that are present that have been brought in through the active core development. So with that in mind, I'm going to go ahead and turn this over. We have Bridget Lane from Business Districts, Inc. We have Cindy Bodie from Cindy Bodie Enterprises, and we have Carl Walt from the Walt Group here to tell you more about the value of a community branding exercise.
Thanks, Jamie, and very kind words. I'm going to try and just start. What we're going to talk to you about today is why regional positioning. And in front of you, you have a small brochure, I believe, Jamie, that is Lessons from the Trenches. Look at it at your leisure. But although we're three companies, we've worked together on numerous projects, and we do that because we each have a different expertise. I work on the market issues. Cindy?
I work on the marketing strategy and implementation, have that sort of background.
And then I'm involved in the creative part.
So this is just the way where we've been in the marketplace. So just to help you, we understand the Chicago market really well. And what's really important at this point is communities are increasingly involved in branding. And this shows the work we've done over the past 8 years. But the point here is if you don't brand yourself, you get branded by the marketplace. So what we're talking about is you taking control of how the market perceives you. And so that's basically our approach, is that we believe you have to have an authentic story, and that it's really just what are you promising to the marketplace. It's an act of managing that promise. And this is just to kind of get it in your mind. A logo is like that Raggedy Ann doll. It's an inanimate object. A brand is like a child. You have to nurture it and have it grow. And that's what happens. It doesn't stay static, it changes. Your image in the marketplace will change with a lot of the exciting things that you're doing. And it's really finding your own narrative. And what we have here is two towns. You know immediately when you see those arches what town it is. And you also, when we see Abraham Lincoln in Illinois, you know usually what town they're talking about. So what we're talking about is finding the authentic story and your unique narrative. And the way we do this is by looking at the marketplace, what your aspirations are, and what your resources are. And where they intersect is your authentic story. And what you see here in front of you is something that we did for Warrenville, just to give you some idea of a community. And what we're trying to do here is find out what differentiates you. We're not talking about everything about your community, it's what's different about your community. And that's the heart of your story. The brand strategy is what comes first, and that's what's really important here. And what we're looking at is just how do you figure out that strategy. So it's going to end up with a brand promise that's the derivation of that strategy.
Yeah, this is everybody as a brand manager.
Yeah.
One of the most important things about sharing that story is that we could always say, we're going to go out and deputize everybody in your community to tell that story, because that's one of the easiest and most cost-effective ways of communicating what you're doing. So we want to make everybody a brand manager.
Yeah, and the point here is that you're in competition, whether it's you end up with your sports core area or whatever it is, you're competing with some private organizations with much larger budgets. And what you have is your community behind a strategy that goes out and does the brand management for you. This is kind of interesting. This is a logo for Warrenville that you're seeing the kinds of emblems that go out and do that for your population. And what we're looking looking for is the one good thing in your community that you can take out and really tout as you talk about your community. So what you're looking at here is that's the beginning. So in Oswego, it was festivals and events and programming. And as they've done that, they're growing that into, because they needed more eyeballs on their community, and they're growing that into other strategic areas. And that's this point of you find the first good thing and then you grow it. And that's what branding is all about. And the reason we're talking about this is a lot of times when you start this, you start thinking it's your logo or your emblem, but it really isn't. It's a strategy. And it starts with one thing and expands.
You know, and just to add, when you start out with the process, you see there was a phased rollout. You can't be everything to everybody, but you want to be at least one good thing that the entire marketplace and internal audiences understand.
Yeah, and look, there's an example here is a look at Lombard, which is a community we worked with. And how many of you are familiar with Lombard? You come in the logo, it can be anything you want as long as it's purple. And it involves a lot of it. And just like you're very proud of your community and nature and harmony, we would expect that to be a core issue of whatever strategy you select. But this shows how the initial project was just for their downtown and marketing strategy. And as it expanded, what was really interesting, they now have it carved in stone on a bicycle trail. So that's like, that is going to be there for a while. So that's kind of the essence of what you're looking for in your community when you set out with a strategy. The other good thing is quality is really important. And what you have to think about today is how people interact with your community, and that's what grows your branding. And in today's market, maybe Carl, you can just talk about
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. A few years back when Walmart changed out to what they call, I think, the Starburst. And then USA Today went to this blue ball, and people in the design world were rolling their eyes, going, what is this all about? It was all about showing up on a smartphone. It used to be identities had to be about the size of a dime, and then also the size on a water tower. But now it's got to work at 3/32 of an inch, and this is where communities are falling down these days because things are way too complex. They just don't show up on the smartphones where a lot of transactions are. So, you know, you want to make sure, and all these other companies like Facebook and Google have all mastered that.
So you need, one of the reasons why you want to act at this point is to be able to go out and find that emblem or what's going to work and it's going to identify your community.
And it also needs to work in a social environment, social media, because that's especially on the smartphones and the tablets.
So, and this is just to show, just because you put a Starbucks logo on something that isn't quality, it doesn't make it attractive. And that's the whole point. You're an attractive community and you want to make sure that everything matches together. So,
yeah, this was a program we did for Lamont. It was the first time we ever did a logo, a community logo that was shared with the township, with the Chamber of Commerce. The Park District ultimately didn't buy into this, but this is an example. You know, you guys don't have $6 billion marketing budget, so the more times people see the same identity, the faster that it builds what's called brand equity. So this was a very interesting case. A lot of communities, because they have library districts and park districts, and maybe they don't all align, so it can't work, but in the case of Lamont, it was an opportunity.
yeah, it's the whole idea that the goal here isn't for you to have something exclusive, it's to be shared and endorse all the events and things.
Yeah, yeah, that's in Warrenville that we developed, we expanded that program so that they have what we call the right community identity that they can share with other organizations. They may not use the actual logo, but we want them to have it, use it as an endorser so that the look that the city has established also gets replicated with community partners.
It can even translate to other businesses. Businesses are buying it and endorsers.
A very cost-effective way to get your message out.
Yeah. Just so, in summary, the whole point, as you start to think about branding as a strategy, is to really understand your story and your market definition and the position. Where do you fit within the region and what are your competitive strengths? Then to have an actual plan so that you're going to actually market it and the implementation. And Cynthia, Cindy, I don't know if you want to just talk for a couple of minutes.
This example is Oak Forest, which is like familiar community to you. It started when we were looking at the approach. What was making Oak Forest different was really, we looked at it as a metro community because it has the new train station that with the train that goes straight into the loop. And so we started comparing Oak Forest to other Metro 30, we call them, communities. And we really found that it was, what differentiated it was standard of living, more affordable housing, and just the environment, everything that was there. That led us then to develop a marketing plan and strategy around that, which essentially said everything here is close to home. You can get to the city and stay close to home. You're always close to home. You can go to the parks and everything else. And then in terms of implementation, we did a standalone website and social media. That really became something the community held it really enjoyed and bought into. So it just shows how you go from marketing definition into implementation.
Yeah, so every community story is different, and our goal is to help each community figure out what that story is for their community. What do you think? We invited questions all along, and I don't know.
I think it's a good idea. That way it's your logo. And then you said, if there's something that people are familiar with it, makes them feel more comfortable.
Yeah, and we just have a few more examples here. So some of the things that you might want to think about is Mundelein really did a good job of doing materials that the community really has collateral materials that from coffee mugs to ties to scarves, they even have socks. And if you go to the community, you'll see people with those.
These are for businesses too, when they have stairs and things like that, invite businesses to the community.
And a couple of years after we finished in Mundelein, this was something that we thought was really interesting. This was Chicago Curb?
No, that's
it's a website that basically is Chicago-based, and they did this time out, 9 suburbs you almost want to live in. So it was geared towards the younger crowd, and through this program, Mundelein actually showed up on that list, which was totally unexpected. Do we claim credit for that? Not necessarily, but it's that whole point I was making. If you're out there and other people aren't out there, it gives you an opportunity to be in this kind of an environment. So it became really important.
And tell your story.
Yeah. And we've talked a little bit about Oak Forest. We actually chose to dominate a rail station there, and those are the kinds of things you can do. In Oswego, we worked really hard to help them be differentiated in the marketplace. And yeah, and one thing, the reason we provided this slide is just for you to start to think about. A lot of people ask us what's changed and why do you need to market today. With the way your residents and also the people thinking of coming to Homer Glen think, we used to look at much smaller areas. This happens to be a 30-minute drive time of Homer Glen, and what we talk about is the experience of living in Homer Glen today suggests that you have access to everything here, and that particularly people who are shopping or looking for something to do, dining, what's happened is the internet has expanded how far people will go today. Markets are larger. Think about yourself. If you're looking for a certain type of restaurant or a certain type of goods, you don't start anymore by what you know. You go to Google and you say Italian restaurant, and then you look at how many stars it got, and there's a little button you can hit for directions. And that has changed how far people will go. It's changing markets, so preparing for the future is understanding your experience and marketing.
And think about the new things you're doing, the holiday decor and things like that. People look for online to find out where's their new holiday decor, where's there a great experience for my family.
So just kind of where you might want to go is to, the best time to launch marketing programs is always in the spring. And identifying how you might want to do that can be very important. So, any other questions? Or I know it's been kind of a long meeting tonight, but our real goal is to make you think a little more broadly about what is branding. It's not necessarily the image that can be cleaned up pretty easily, but you need to go beyond that to understand who you want to approach and what you want to use to do that.
Well, it is very interesting what you're saying, and it's something that should be done, so thank you, and we'll discuss it.
Great, thanks for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, is there any old business? Is there any new business? The next item is executive session. Is there a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel and real estate?
So moved.